Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, Great Eastern Model Railway. This time I thought I would do something a little bit different with this video and provide you with some sort of history into the development of the layout. Around 5 years ago, I found I had some time on my hands and a mind that needed occupying. So after a break of over 40 years, my interest in model railways was reawakened, courtesy of YouTube and the likes of Chadwick, Everard Junction and New Junction. Thanks guys, you've cost me a fortune. Why Great Eastern? Well, two reasons really. One, it's the area I live, and more importantly, most of the steam locos at least, my late father would either have worked on or certainly have fired other members of the same classes. And during the latter stages of his life, discussing the layout and the locos with him brought back a little bit of a spark into his eyes. The original concept was for a tail chaser with the terminus on an upper level, approximately where the town scene now is, and a depot situated where the current terminus is, with the reverse loop running from the station to allow out and back running back to the terminus. After many attempts, this just could not be made to work. The main reason being that the steam engines struggled to get up the gradient onto the terminus with 5 or 6 coaches on, and subsequently any failure within the terminus would prove mightily difficult to retrieve. Many attempts later, I settled on a different design, incorporating the terminus and a small goods yard within the main loops at one end of the layout. Alongside the station, a small goods yard was squeezed in, which together with everything else in the layout was to have included a lot more detail, but with the change of plans this will now not happen. However, it has given me many ideas for the next one. The terminus was created as a 5-platform station, with one platform having a run-round facility. Originally all platforms were intended for a 5-coach train, however this inevitably slipped to 6 coaches once more stock was obtained. One concept I was keen to develop was the ability for trains to be able to complete an out and back route in either direction from the yard and terminus. This was eventually developed, though inadvertently I created a reverse loop which requires a manual polarity switch to take one of the paths. Above and behind the terminus, in its original area, a sort of town scene was created to try to give some purpose to the terminus. This was made exclusively for Metcalfe kits. The shed area incorporates a Hallion DCC turntable and a mixture of Bachmann and Metcalfe buildings, and as with the rest of the layout, further scenery work has now halted pending the house move. I was going to include a little street scene above and behind the yard, but with the shape of the room I chose the easy option of just turning into a bit of a cutting with a hillside behind. The baseboards are 9mm ply mounted on a 17 by 67mm PSE frame. These are then covered in a 3mm layer of cork sheet, and the track is mounted on Woodland Scenics track bed and ballasted with Legacy Models ballast. Track work is all Pico 75 with Electrofrog points, and all points are switched by DCC Concepts slow action analog point motors which are controlled by two rather basic homemade control panels, one for the shed area and one for everywhere else. Whilst I like the action of the point motors, I do find that the noise they make quite frustrating, as they are quite loud. Does anyone have a solution, or at least a method of making these a little bit quieter in their operation? I use a mixture of KD and magnetic couplers on my stock. This allows for automatic uncoupling within the terminus area and the bay platform. I was also going to include this in the goods yard, but with the changing circumstances, this will now not happen. I resisted the urge to go fully DCC with the point switching, as controlling 3 or 4 trains, a turntable and the point switches was more than I could cope with on one handheld controller. Whilst not intending to use initially, I did wire the layout for block detection. With development of the layout halted, I decided to explore whether it was feasible to control a dipole semaphore signal with a PLC utilising block detection. This is somewhat complicated by the fact that the signals are pulse operated. I purchased a basic PLC with free software and some legacy models block detectors and used the auxiliary contacts on point motors. The signal was set to act as a station starter. I wanted the signal to be at danger if either point 1 was set against anything in block 4 and or if block 6 was occupied. After experimenting with this, I decided to be more realistic if the signal was only off if required to be. To that end, I modified the program so the signal would only go to off if the previous precursors were correct and block 4 was occupied. This worked to a fashion. However, if the signal remained at danger, a train going at any reasonable speed would not be able to stop in time after entering block 4. So this was modified so that either block 4 or block 9 had to be occupied for the signal to be off. Finally, it occurred to me that if a train was heading to the bay platform, it would not matter if the signal was off. Point 2 was introduced into the logic in conjunction with block 9, such that the path needed to be set through the station for the signal to go off, assuming point 1 was set correct and block 6 was occupied. While sounding quite complicated, in reality the program was quite simple. Right, I think that's enough of me waffling. Let's run some trains.